Hey, hello, and welcome to the show. It is me, John Park. It's time for JP's product pick of the week. Thank you so much for stopping by, everyone. I'm keeping an extra special eye on the YouTube health status because last week we had a weird one where my show went for like 9 minutes without YouTube picking it up. Or anything picking it up, I think. It was weird. So let me know in the comments if you are seeing video. Speaking of you, who's you? You over in our YouTube chat. Thank you for stopping by, Robert Cochran and Dave Odessa, Beata Graf Avdelhagen. Hello. We have our Discord chat as the other main place to hang out if you're wondering where the chat is at, if you're over in LinkedIn land or Facebook or something like that. Here it is. We've got, who's here? What's today? Hey, there's Sam J. Ohio and David WA9ONY, Jim Hendrickson, Scotty Beam Me Up, Thin Man, hello, hey Byron, hey Paul Cutler. Thank you all for jumping into the chat today. Hi, John Nodge. So what's going on here? This is the Product Pick Show. What I'll tell you is you can head to this URL right here. I just got distracted by Larsy Larsman, who hit the walk-off home run at the 47th inning of last night's game. If any of you are watching the World Series, that was wild. It was like midnight when that thing ended on this coast, so sorry, East Coasters. Enough of the Dodger pride, though. Hey, look, that's the QR code. That's the URL. Head on over there, and you can take a sneak peek at this week's product pick. You can also watch this show inside of the page. So thanks so much to the new products team for discounting it heavily, for stashing units in advance. We have well over 100 of them available. You don't need a coupon code or anything like that if you're new to the show, to the format. We just discount it live during the show. So while you're watching the show or just a little bit after, throw 1 or up to 10 into your cart. That's the maximum you can get at this price, and they're just discounted. So that's how that works. Now, speaking of customarily, I like to have Lady Ada jump back just a little bit in time to her new segment from the Ask an Engineer show. So to introduce this week's product pick, take it away, Lady Ada.
And finally, we have another new sensor. This is the STHS34PF80. Why they name it like that, I don't know. But this sensor it's basically like a passive IR sensor, very similar to these PIR sensors, except it doesn't need a lens. It's a lensless design. So it can measure presence and motion up to 4 meters away, of people, of animals, as long as they're fairly large. It also has a built-in temperature monitor for local, and can measure presence. So one thing about PIR sensors is they tend to only measure motion. This can measure both presence and motion. It's kind of nice. So it's like you don't have to wave your hand in front of it to reactivate it. And it doesn't have timeout. And it has I2C, so you don't have to worry about, PIR sensors usually only give you a digital signal, and it's not in depth. It just says, was there motion in the last 30 seconds? This will give you much more detailed information. So this sensor, I have Arduino library, CircuitPython, and Python coming soon. So that's all the products.
Hey, yes indeed, there it is. That, and I just did it update. I fixed the name. I had a typo in the little bar there. Let's throw this one up, in fact, because this one just grabs it from the ether. That right there is the product pick of the week this week. It is the STHS34PF80 IR presence and motion sensor. So this is a great little package, a little breakout on we have STEMMA QT for I2C connectivity, little ports there, you can just plug it in. I'll show you that in my demo. We've also got pins so that you can solder pins and put it into a breadboard or a permaproto. And what this is a PIR sensor that is a little bit unique in that it is tiny. We do not require the usual sort of Fresnel lensing over it. It has an 80-degree field of view, and on board it calculates, it can detect, as Lady Ada said, both motion, which is typical for these when you walk into a room and the lights come on, it detects motion. Sometimes those turn off when everyone's still because you've fallen asleep in the meeting or whatever. Not this one. This one detects both motion and presence. So it's able to just check and check the IR temperature signature of the room or of its field of view and tell if there's anything there. So this is really useful for all sorts of situations where you want to detect a person moving into a space, tell if there are still people in the space, could also be large animals. And in fact, let me just go to my notes, because based on what ST lists, it's used for alarm and security systems, home automation, smart lighting, smart lockers, I don't really know what that is, and smart wall pads. Anything smart probably needs this. So if you head to that URL right there, that is going to look like this. Let me get some of the stuff out of the way there. So there you can see, there is the package. If I take a look at the front here, you can see we've got the pins along the bottom. So if you want to do I2C power ground over those pins, you can. Otherwise, just use the STEMMA QT. If we flip it over, you can see the only thing to adjust on this is there is a jumper on the back for whether you want to see the LED. There's a little green power LED on the front that will let you know that the thing is turned on. So you can turn that off if it's not convenient. But this is really great for building small, maybe you want to build a piece of artwork that can detect when people come close. You don't have that big dome to deal with, that's the typical one. In fact, let me go to a down shooter view, and we'll do a little quick compare and contrast here. And I'm just going to check the chat here to make sure everything is copacetic. And YouTube health, streaming is healthy, it says. That's good news. So there is how small that one is. This is your typical PIR sensor. So that's one difference, the size, a lot more subtle. Second difference, this is over I2C. This is not. This is usually just a digital pin that tells you if there's motion or not. And that third sort of critical difference being this one does not detect presence, just motion. So here we've got a couple of other links I want to show you before we get to a demo. Let me bring back the site here. So as you get me out of there. As you take a look here, scroll down a bit, you'll see we've got this showing from inside of the page. We have that little new product segment. Some details on here. So it says high sensitivity infrared presence and motion detection. Reaches up to about 4 meters without any lensing. That I don't know if that's saying that you could lens it to get other distances, but I haven't tried that. Has the integrated silicon IR filter. It's SMD friendly, the chip that's on this. Capable of detecting stationary objects, distinguishing between stationary and moving, 80-degree field of view. It's factory calibrated, low power, and on and on. Let's scroll down a little further and you'll get to the Learn guide here. So if we take a look at that link there, you can see we've got overview page with some nice big pictures of it, some of the basic info. Here is the pinout. So you've got power, which is V in, and ground, and then there's a 3-volt out that you can grab if you need that for something else. I2C logic pins, so serial clock, serial data, and you can get that over STEMMA QT as well. There's an interrupt pin, and then we've got the power LED and the jumper. One note from the chat, Toddbot said, is this spooky? It seems spooky. Yeah, thanks for the reminder. This is perfect for haunt stuff. If you're doing any last-minute Halloween decorations and you want them to react, if you just want to have a spooky noise happen when someone walks by, and then keep the sound or lights show going while people are there, but then end it when people leave, perfect for that. Really, really great note. Thank you, Todd. If you look here, the CircuitPython and Arduino pages in the guide will get you started setting this up, plugging it in, and getting some basic code going. We have that STHS34PF80 library, both for CircuitPython and Arduino, and we've got some nice examples there of how to use that. And in fact, I've made a version of that sample file that I want to show you now. So let me bring this back into view. And let me grab my coding window. Where'd you go? It was hiding on me. There it is. Okay, so you can see here, I'm going to move slightly out of the way of the sensor. I don't think I'm in its path anymore. Or am I? Let me try angling this a little further away from me. Oh, it's detecting a light, I think. Oh, have we fooled it with a light? That should not be detect. Let me reset the board here. I'll get out of the way. Hopefully, with me out of the field of view over here. Okay, there you can see. Okay, so if you look in the REPL there, it says the presence value and the motion value. Those are kind of the key things that I care about here. So if I step in front of the sensor, you're going to see, okay, presence value of 791, it's detected me. Motion value, it has stopped detecting that because I'm standing pretty still. If I just move a little bit, we're going to see the motion value should kick in, should detect. So there I've moved enough, and then again, I'm still enough. So those are those are tolerances that you can adjust in the code that I have, presence tolerance and motion threshold, I should say. So if we set this, let me adjust that a little lower and resave that. Okay, so again, I'll get out of the way. So you should see presence values and motion values that are not detecting me. I'll get in front of it here. It says detected. Okay, so I'm still enough that it doesn't think I'm moving. If I just move back and forth here a little bit, maybe a little more than that. So now it said, yeah, there you saw it. It had a motion value kick on. Motion value, yeah. So I think me getting farther away and closer should be enough to trip that. So now I'm out of the field of view. Come back here and we'll get presence and motion. So that's how that could potentially work in your code. I just have, when that value goes beyond a certain threshold, I'm just throwing up the word detected, but that could be when you spin a motor, puff out some smoke, make a horrible shrieking sound, or it could be something nice and gentle. It doesn't have to just be spooky Halloween stuff. So if you look in the code here, it's really straightforward to use. All we need to do is import this STHS34PF80 library and set up the sensor on I2C as sensor equals Adafruit STHS blah, blah, blah on I2C. And then in the main loop here, I'm saying if the sensor data is ready, we can ask the chip, hey, do you have any data for me? Then I can cast these three variables, ambient temperature, compensated object temperature, and just grab those by sensor, ambient, sensor, object, sensor, compensated. And then the detection values. So the chip will just tell you presence value, sensor.presence value, motion value, sensor.motion value, and then this shock value. So you can then do with those what you want, which in my case is I'm just checking against the previous value and a threshold value there. So let me point this more at myself, and I should just be constantly detected as being present because it's pointing right at me there. All right, so that's the code. Very simple, very straightforward, easy to use. Everything else I have in here is just checking against the time. I have a little small delay going on and a little state to see what it was the last time versus the current value, and then we know if we're going to throw up the word detected or not. All right. So let's see. Any questions in the chats? I want to take a look over there for a moment. Robert Cochran, this could be extremely useful for me. So this is useful for when detecting when a person walks into a room is a question? Absolutely, yeah. So let me go back to bring up my IDE here. So, oh, and I'm sorry, my little, let me move that out of the way there. Okay, so you can see that text a little better there. So what I'm going to do is, let me point this at essentially the space where I stand when I'm here. So if I get out of the way here, we should see it settle down after a moment of me moving. So if I walk into the room, we should very quickly get a presence and a motion detected. And then if I stop moving, but I'm still here, it'll stay on presence value detected, but motion value is low. If I walk back out of the way here, I'm out of the watchful eye. And next time it updates there, it says there's no presence and there's no motion. So yes, exactly what it's used for. And it can work up to 4 meters. So you might need to tune, if you're doing something based on that threshold, you might need to tune that in a real setting. But it can be wide enough that it'll cover small people, big people, large animals. All right. Then I think that's going to do it if there are no other questions. Back up over here. So there you can see, I will remind you, you want to get these before the show finishes or soon thereafter. We have the URL and the QR code right there. It's product 6426, and it looks like we have about 54 of them in stock, according to the little stock update there, which is every 12 seconds, so it could be moving fast. And yeah, as Robert says, it could be connected to a relay to turn on other devices. You can trigger sounds, you can trigger light things, trigger relays to trigger bigger motors, or MOSFETs or other transistors to trigger your higher power effects. But anything's possible with that. Of course, it has a lot of IoT uses. I'm not sure if there's a whippersnapper codeless setup for this yet, but I would imagine this would be pretty straightforward to implement there. So if you wanted to do IoT things with Adafruit I/O, MQTT, this is probably a good bet for that type of IoT stuff to tell when someone enters a room and do something with it. All right, then if there are no other questions over in the chats, I think we're good, yeah. Let's finish this up. So that right there is my product pick of the week this week. It is the ST HS34PF80 IR presence and motion sensor. For Adafruit Industries, I'm John Park. This has been JP's product pick of the week. Thanks everyone so much for stopping by. Go Dodgers.